yeah, for the interview?
Yes, man. Come on, man. Stop playing, man. I'm ready. I'm ready to fight.
Is there anything you want to tell the public out there?
I am the greatest. Right, left, you're toothless. And then you say, God damn it. You got knocked the fuck out, man. Get knocked out. Damn. Word is born, I'ma smoke him. You don't make no move. I treat it like boxing. Stick and move. Stick him in the left, right. And he was out for the night.
You know we need that trademark bark before you depart from our company, man. You know what I mean? Can we get the barking again? We're gonna need that bark. Yeah, I mean?
Oh man, Jesus Christ, fellas. Dog is coming.
I don't care if he knocked me down, I was ready to go with him. Whatever you wanted to do, I was gonna match him. All the way, mate, all the way. Now you might start believing in the Dark Destroyer.
Watching beats and rhymes, watching beats and rhymes.
I got knowledge, another fucker's pockets.
I don't know if you want to answer. Possible Manny Pacquiao fight with Floyd Mayweather. How you feel about that?
Well, basically, I mean, it's a fight that still has the potential to happen.
I'm Sonny Liston, I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from their claw. There's no one that can match me.
Watching beats and rhymes, watching beats and rhymes, watching beats and rhymes, watching beats and rhymes.
Hello, this is Errol. This is Errol from Facebook. I contacted you for about an interview.
Oh yeah, how are you, man?
Yeah, we're great. We're great. I'm here with Boxing Rams and Beats. Say hello, Beats.
Glen Johnson, how you doing, my friend?
Yeah. Okay, good. How you guys doing, man?
Yeah, man.
We're great, man. Yeah, we're all right. We're over here in the UK. Where you at? You in Miami, yeah?
Yeah, we're in Miami.
Hey, over there. It's nice. It's nice. The weather's nice, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You guys in England?
Yeah, we're in England. We're in London, England.
Oh, okay. I was just there in December.
Yeah, I know. Hey, listen. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that. Yeah. So let's begin. So Glenn, so how did you start? How did you get into boxing?
Well, for me, I started boxing just because I needed to lose weight. So at the age of 20, I just went into a gym, and it happened to be a boxing gym, and it was a community gym, and it was for free and free.
Okay. Where was that, in Jamaica, yeah?
No. That was here in Miami.
You started boxing here in Miami when you went just to lose weight. That's how you started boxing?
Yeah, when I was 20 years old.
You started boxing when you was 20 years old?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So then you were saying so you just started boxing to lose weight, and then what happened from then? From that, how did you progress?
Well, the trainer asked me if I wanted to try the amateur boxing, and I said, okay, I'll try it. And then once I started trying it, I fell in love with it. And, started to get compliments and stuff. So I got real interested and went in the amateur program and I had 40 amateur fights, 35 and 5, and then 3 years later I turned pro.
Wow. So when you turn amateur, did you go to the Olympics or anything? Would you go because you represent Jamaica or anything, or all your fights were mainly in America? Amateur fights.
Yeah, well, I had a couple of fights. I went to the Bahamas on a tour, and we fought there, and I went to I think it was the Virgin Islands. Mm-hmm. So those were two places that I fought outside of the United States as an amateur.
Okay. Oh, so yeah. How many fights did you have as an amateur?
35. 40. 35 wins and 5 losses.
Oh, so this is a decent record. So what weight was you campaigning at in the amateurs?
178. Light heavyweight.
Light heavy.
Wow. Oh, really? Okay. Because when you started as a pro, you was let me see.
Middleweight.
It was even less than middleweight. Actually, you was even lighter than that. You was at 159. Middleweight. Middleweight. Middleweight.
Yeah, when I started professional, I went down to the middleweight division.
Yeah. You went down to the middleweight division, and you campaigned. You strung off a lot of fights. I can see a lot of your fights were in Miami Beach. Yeah, a lot of your fights were in Miami Beach. Yeah, one fight in North Carolina, Georgetown. Wow, you extend your record. So, boy, so what happened when you got to the fight with Bernard Hopkins, and you got the title shot with Bernard Hopkins the first time?
Yeah, when I got the first title shot with Bernard Hopkins, I was very excited and looking forward to that fight, and thought I was going to win my championship. And Bernard Hopkins convinced me different.
You put in a spirited effort, man. It was a very close fight. I don't think at that point that was your first loss and also stoppage as well.
Yeah, that was my the first time that I really step up and fought against somebody with tremendous talent. And at that time I was up until then I was just fighting against basically opponents, and when I step up and fight Bernard, it was just a different style of boxing, different level of boxing.
Definitely. It certainly was, man. Certainly was. And then your next title defense, what I can see here was a super middleweight, where you went against
Svenotki.
Yeah, I fought Svenotki for super middleweight in Germany. That was a fight I thought I won, and most people who saw it thought I won that fight.
Yeah, judges, yeah, but Germany is pretty. The fight was in Germany. Yeah, it's pretty hard, isn't it? Actually, yeah, the fight's hurt in Germany. Yeah. It's pretty hard to get a decision over there.
He was the most protected champion probably of all time. Glenn's not the only one to come from Germany fighting Svenotki and being very disappointed with what the judges did, But I've never seen that fight.
Yeah, well, the judges, they see how they want, not necessarily see it the way it is. So,
okay.
I faced a lot of that in my career.
Yeah, you have. But you never seem to get angry about it. You never complain about it. Is that just part of your personality?
Well, it makes no sense to get angry about something that's not going to change anything. So for me, I just keep on doing what I do and keep on pushing, see what I can do with my life.
Yeah. Because I study boxers' mannerisms, yeah? And before you fought Tavoris Cloud, he got very animated. He was shouting and growling. And you was looking at him like, what's the matter with this guy? Is he on crack or something? So what, you just don't let nothing faze you like that?
Well, you have to stay grounded. No matter what the way life takes you, you're still a man. So at the end of the day, you always want to make sure that you remind yourself of all the things that you're made up of. So, and for me, I had a strong family background, and those people keep things realistic. So I always had a realistic mindset.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, man. So so let me move on to the Clinton Woods War, where you had the free fight. What's it? How many fights you had?
Free fights.
The free fights with the Clinton Woods. I remember the first time I watched that fight. Yeah, I can honestly say you beat him up badly. I thought, I thought it, the way you beat him, in my opinion, you clearly beat him, and they gave it a draw. And then the rematch, you just beat him out of sight. Now, do you remember them fights, and what was going through your mind when you got the draw in the first fight?
The time when I got the draw in the first fight, I was really, at that point, starting to get disgusted because of all the stuff that already happened to me up until that point. But, the IBF mandate the rematch, and, he turned into a title shot, and I was able to win that fight and I become a world champion. So, at the end of the day, it all worked out.
Yeah, how did you feel when you became a world champion at that time in the Sheffield, and everything just felt like, you know what I mean? You finally got it after how many? After that was your third. I think that was your fourth shot at the belt.
Yeah, well, it's again, it's like it finally worked out. It's like anything you're doing over and over again, trying your best to accomplish it, and you finally accomplish it. It's always that feeling of accomplishment that you get whenever time that moment comes.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So let's move on to the big fight, the mega fight now. So you went against Roy Jones, and at that time, Roy Jones was still big news because obviously he moved down from the heavyweight division to fight Tarba, lost, and then he got knocked out. And then, so you remember what you was going through going into that fight with Roy Jones and your game plan, and obviously tell us about like what transpired. Obviously, everyone knows, but let's hear it from you, innit? What was going through your mind in that fight, and what was your strategy going into it?
Well, I'm getting the shot of one of the biggest names in boxing. I trained extremely hard for that fight. I felt like this was my opportunity to get on the big stage, and this was where people were gonna remember me, and this is where people were gonna see me for the first time. Because up until then, there was still a lot of boxing fans that didn't know about Glen Johnson, or even probably didn't pay Glen Johnson any attention. So when you get put on the world stage, you really want to go out there and represent yourself the best way you can. Yeah. That was the mindset that I trained with, the mindset that I stepped in the ring with, and it's what I fought with, and the world know the rest of it from there.
Yeah. What I noticed about when people fight Roy Jones is that he leaves them confused. He destroys their equilibrium. He couldn't do that to you. How comes he didn't phase you with his skills?
Well, I mean, I know Roy Jones was a guy who was extremely fast. He needs space to use his hand speed, and he never liked to throw punches in bunches. So I always felt like if I stay close to him and throw my punches in bunches, he was going to be telling, and it was going to be difficult for him to do the things he wanted to do. So I took him out of his game plan and into my game plan, and it worked.
Okay.
When you knocked him down, when you knocked him out, and you knocked him out, like Tarba's one was a shot, but your one it was like wow. When you knocked him out, what was going through your mind? You was like, describe like the emotion going through your head, like you knocked out Roy Jones.
Well, I mean, the first thing that went through my mind was, I'm glad the fight is over and I'm a winner, and that was my first thought. And then when he wouldn't get up, my second thought is, oh shit, I hope I didn't kill somebody in the ring now, because now I'm going to have that stigma on my name. So I became immediately concerned about what was going on with Roy Jones. And then after I realized that he was going to be all right, then I could get back into my celebration of winning the fight and a mega fight and the biggest name in boxing, basically, at least in our weight class. And I mean, it was great feeling knowing that I'm finally going to get the recognition that I got. And, that year became the best year of my career. I ended up being Fighter of the Year that year. So it was, all the emotions that I was feeling at that time ended up turning out to be true.
Yeah, because you beat Tarver the same year. So I can assume, in your opinion, that your biggest victory was against Roy.
Yeah, it's, I always said my best victory is the Clinton Woods victory when I become world champion, because that's why you went in a boxing gym in the first place to you never really go in a boxing gym say I want to fight the biggest name in boxing. You go in a boxing gym say you want to be world champion. So yeah. I always look at the fight where I became world champion as my biggest fight, but my most notable fight is the Roy Jones victory. So and I always try to keep that in that concept.
Yeah.
I never step in the ring. I mean, in the boxing gym, when I first walk in the boxing gym and training for boxing, say, oh, I'm training to fight Roy Jones, or to beat Roy Jones. That was my thought, but my thought was to become a world champion. So,
okay.
That's the concept I always kept.
Don't you want to even the score with Bernard Hopkins? Don't you want to get a rematch with him?
Yeah, I mean, Bernard Hopkins, that's a fight that I pursue over and over again. Bernard Hopkins talked to me himself personally, say that's a fight that he would do as well. But when every time it come around for the fight to happen, he just never really step up and do the fight. So it's just one of those fights that I just think not going to happen. It's a lot of talk but not much action behind it.
Okay. Yeah. He struggled with Rob Allen. He struggled with Rob Allen in one of his title defenses. So he's not. You're actually one of the first guys there, obviously, that he has actually had another fight with. Most of the time he has a lot of rematches. So he must have seen something in that. And saw something and didn't want to fight you. Going back to
exactly. I mean, once they get the win, they keep their distance from me after that. If he would have lost, the rematch would already happen. But because he won, after that they on their bicycle.
Of course. I mean, fighting with you is no fun and games. It's not. I mean, the fight was a rough and tumble fight. And it's not something he probably wants to go through again. And going back to the Roy Jones fight, what I'm looking on the next fight was against Tarbo. That the next fight wasn't for the IBF belt. Did you relinquish the belt? Because you was fighting Tarbo for the IBO belt. So what happened to your title?
We were supposed to fight mandatories. And Tarbo was supposed to fight his mandatory, the WBC #1 guy. So he gave up his belt. He also requested that I have to give up my IBF for a fight for his title. So we both gave up our belt. He gave up the he gave up the WBC. I gave up the IBF, and then we fought each other for that belt, and then I won it.
Yeah, you
and
won.
Then I rematched him for it, and he won it back.
Yeah. I'm not getting into that fight. I know that was obviously a mega fight. Obviously it's not a fight you regret. Do you regret giving up something you worked so hard for? Because
definitely. I mean, but at the end of the day, I mean, I already won it. So I mean, I proved to myself and the world that I could have, because people told me that I would never be a world champion.
Mm-hmm.
So I already got that. I got that monkey off my back. Yeah. So now money become the agenda now. So once I looked at all the real estate and everything, Tower present the best opportunity to make money, and I went that direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was already in my late 30s. It's not like I was a young man, in my early 20s or something where I was going to have a ton load of opportunities. I was already in my mid 30s at that point. Not even mid 30s. I was in my late 30s at that point. So I had to go for the money.
Yeah. Would you say like obviously as a pro fighter, would you say like obviously winning the title, but your next incentive was to earn the big money. So that's what your next incentive was. Is obviously to be financially secure, right?
Exactly. I mean, the number one, you want to become a world champion, and number two, you wanna make money.
That's right.
And a lot of some guys can make money without becoming a world without becoming a world champion, and some of us need to become a world champion before we start getting money. So it all depends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's a question I ask all boxers that I interview: what was your motivation to be a boxer? The money or the glory?
Well, again, my motivation when I walk into the gym is just to work out, to lose weight. That was my motivation, and because I didn't walk into a gym trying to be a boxer. But once you start hearing the rumbles that you could actually be a boxer, then you start looking at the whole real estate of what can happen. You're looking at, oh wow, I could actually become a world champion, that become your goal, and then you see other fighters making money and stuff. Once they become world champion, then you're looking at the opportunity to be rich. So all of those things kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Definitely,
so
definitely.
After the Fonfara fight, you seemed quite sincere that you was retiring. What made you change your mind?
Well, for me, I after I lost to Farah, I never really lose to a guy that caliber. Never lose to somebody that level of boxing. So it really hit me hard. I really thought, you know what, my career has to be over for me to lose to this guy. You know, I'm not stranger to losing. I lose because I got robbed. I lose because I fought against world class, the best fighters that's out there, and stuff like that. But you know, this wasn't the case. To me, this was not the best fighter that was out there, and certainly I didn't get robbed. So I reacted based on my emotion of you know, in the heat of everything. But once I came home and think back a little bit and have some discussions, I felt like preparation might be a part of it. I was coming off an injury. I fought in Canada. I had both of my elbows swelled up, and I needed the time off, and I took the time off. So a lot of information, a lot of discussion of my camp, and also I had so much more desire that wasn't met yet. So I felt like maybe I premature, you know, retired. So that's the reason why I came back.
I was gonna say, I see you had an all Jamaican fight with Richard Hall, and when you won a unanimous decision, how was that fight again? In finding one of your fellow countrymen.
You know, that was actually you know, a rough and tumble fight.
Yeah.
You know, at that time, Richard Hall still had a lot in the tank. You know, he actually had world championship boxing still left in him. So we fought a good fight. The audience was pleased. Everybody was cheering and enjoying the fight. And you know, and I came out a unanimous victory. So you know, it was a good fight. One of the tougher fights of my career.
Really? Okay.
Richard was tough, man. Richard was tough. You know?
Yeah, well, you know, Richard Hall back then, like I said, he's a bigger guy than me. He's a more physical, light heavyweight. He's bigger, and he's more physical. But you know, I was just so full of determination and everything. So he ended up turned out to be a good fight. I mean, it was a crowd-pleasing fight. You know, I mean, neither one of us is exactly a runner, so it made into a good competition.
Okay, and then you beat Monte Griffis as well. Well, that's a spectacular win as well. You know, Monte Griffis beat Roy Jones, and he beat James Toney twice. So big win as well on your record as well. Remember that fight? What was you going through that match? Because he's a tricky customer, Monte Griffin.
Yeah, you know, again, Monte Griffin is a great fighter. But I also, to be honest, you know, by the time I fought Montel, it wasn't the same Montel. I mean, you know, he wasn't as young as he was back then, and I don't think he had as much fire in the time either. You know, I mean, I don't want to give myself more credit than I deserve. I feel like I beat a Montel that was much less than in his glory days. So, but you know, he was a good fight as well, and I learned some stuff fighting him also, because again, he still had some tricks that he tried to use on me, but I was able to figure it out.
You can't knock it. It was an IBF eliminator, so it was a good win still. When we interviewed Montel Griffin, he said that HBO forced him to abort his warm-up prematurely, so he'd be at a disadvantage against Roy Jones. Are things like that common in boxing?
Yeah, well, you know, Roy Jones was HBO man, so, you know, I mean, you know, those are the things about boxing that, you know, I'm not all that excited about, you know, because, again, there's so much politics and trickery that people try to do to take care of the so-called favorite.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really rubbed me the wrong way, because I feel like every human being is exactly that. A human being have family that they want to feed, they provided for, and go out there, and every life is just as valuable as the next one. So, that always kind of rubbed me a certain way that, kind of make me disgusted with boxing. But again, even though boxing have a lot of bad about it, they still have a lot of good about it as well. They've done a lot of great things for my life. It certainly put me in perspective. It took me from going nowhere to direct me into going somewhere. So, it's hurtful, but again, even though it still have a lot of stuff that I respect about it. So, but yeah, it's real. I'm sure they haven't done everything perfect, but again, they're still good for boxing.
Yeah, definitely. You had a big wing. You had a big wing knockout against Yusuf Mack, which is impressive. It's quite impressive because obviously you had a fight with Chad Dawson. I'm purposely not really kind of mentioning some of the losses you had though. Right? So I'm kind of mentioning some of the big upset wins, like Yusuf Mack at the time. It's a big win. You knocked him out. You knocked him out in a technical knock in 6 rounds. It's like I think at this time, because obviously you lost against Chad Dawson and some other fighters, guys are counting you out, but yet you come back and you knock out Yusuf Mack. What was going through like, and that was an IBF eliminator, a light heavyweight eliminator.
Yeah, well, my career is a little funny. I lose fight that I'm not supposed to lose, and then I come back and kind of right the wrong. But Yusuf Mack was a pretty good fighter. At the time when I fought him, I thought he was pretty good at that time, but he was better earlier in his career. He had a lot of steam earlier on, and at that time I think maybe some of that steam was a little dampened, and I think I took pretty much all of it out of him by the time I fought him. I didn't hear anything much about him after that, so. But he was a pretty good fighter for a while. It was a big deal here in America, but he just kind of slowly disappeared.
So let me ask this question. So I'm going to ask you directly. In your opinion, this is just your basic opinion. So when you fought Yusuf Mack at that level at that time, when he fought Carl Froch, would you say he was virtually done when he fought Carl Froch at light super middleweight?
He fought Carl Froch like, I don't know, about 6 months ago maybe. I don't know. But since I fought Yusuf Mack, I haven't heard anything about him until I heard he was fighting Carl Froch.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he improved, if he got worse or anything. I have not seen the guy. I would assume that it couldn't got better, because if he got better, I would have seen him. I heard something about him. It would be on television. Again, before I fought Yusuf Mack, he was a big deal. He was on TV all the time. I knew about him. He was a bigger deal than I was at that time. By the time he and I run into each other, I think his team was kind of running out. Basically, he was not the same guy that I was hearing about like a previous year. And then after I fought him, I haven't heard anything about the guy since then. So I don't, and I'm not here to say he was not a good fighter when he fought there in England. That's not what I'm saying at all. I just don't think he was. I don't think he was at as a threat. I don't think so. But I don't know for sure.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. So let's talk about it where, obviously, you had a fight with Tavares Cloud after. So let's talk about, obviously, when they asked you to join the Super 6. How did you feel when they asked you to join that elite tournament in the Super 6 tournament? What was going through your mind when they asked you to join that? And also tell us about the fight with your fight with Alan Green.
Alan Green is a good friend of mine.
Okay.
Again, he came to work with me when I was getting ready to fight Roy Jones. He was very talented. I think he was actually better than he were in the Super 6. He put up a better challenge, a better sparring match, and everything. I actually thought he was going to be something special when we were sparring. But when I got the opportunity for the Super 6, I was extremely excited. To fight against the best fighters in my division is basically what I've been doing my whole career. So when that Super 6 was put together, I was like, wow, I wish I was a super middleweight at that time, because I would love to be a part of it. But I never really thought I would be able to make that weight anymore. So, I kind of let it go because I'm now a light heavyweight. So when they called me about the Super 6, I was so excited about it. I actually, gave it a shot of making that weight. And then when they told me that my opponent was going to be Alan Green, that was a bit disappointing because, again, Alan Green became a friend since he came and sparred with me for the Ryan Jones situation. And I was happy for him that he was in the Super 6 and all of that stuff. But again, boxing is boxing. It's a business. I gave him a call. I told him, I said, unfortunately, it is what it is, but we just got to go do our thing. Whoever wins, just win. You know what I mean? So we win, we fought, and I came out victorious.
Yeah, you did, man. You knocked him out, man. So let's talk about the Carl Froch fight. Let's talk about the Carl Froch fight then. So obviously, you're just on the verge of what was it, semi-finals? All right, just on the verge of getting to the finals now. What was going through your mind, and how do you feel? Do you feel like was the right verdict with the judges, or do you feel like, say, you won that fight? Tell us what you think.
The Carl Froch fight was a close fight. I don't have any argument. When people say they think I won, people told me they think Carl Froch won. So, again, when you have a fight like that, where some people think this and some people think the other thing, there's not really any argument you can make, because, you're still a human being that's judging it, and I never try to hold anybody to perfection, because I'm not perfect myself. So, I just have to say Carl Froch is a good fighter. We fought, and he got the victory, and I have a lot of respect for his talent. He's a rough and tumble guy, kind of similar to what I do. He just lacks defense, and I think that's going to be his downfall. The lack of defense that he don't box with. Even if he's successful financially, I think he will pay as he get older, and taking the punishment he take over his career can't do good for him on the mental part. So, that would be my only thing. But as far as his talent to fight and win, I think he's great. I think he's gonna be successful with that.
So going into Lucien Boucher fight, how are you feeling? Because I don't know, like this to me, this is my own opinion. You didn't have the same energy as you had going into the Carl Froch fight, or maybe I'm wrong about that. You elaborate on that one?
The Lucien Boucher fight, by then, the weight was getting to me. I was not able to represent myself properly in the Lucien Boucher fight. That's the reason why I went back up to light heavyweight after the Lucien Boucher fight, because I recognized that I wasn't coming to the level. And then when I just have the energy, that I feel good, and I feel everything going into the fight like I was able to perform, but it's just that I just couldn't perform. Yeah, and then I'm working my elbow swell up too. I mean, I think it's like in the sound. The John's girlfriend, I also kind of, again, because of my elbow swelling up in the it gave me the opportunity to go find out what was the real issue. And then, in the John's girlfriend, I realized that it's just a weight. I can't perform at 68. I feel good training and all of that stuff, but once I get down to that 68 pounds, It's the energy, everything you just have. At 44, it's hard to make that weight and still perform to what I'm capable of performing. So I'm done with the 68. This is the idea, and for now I'm either light heavyweight, cruiserweight.
How many? Because obviously, I'm looking at your career, right? And you know what? You don't take no years off. I mean, from the start of your career, I'm looking at from when you started from '93 and all the way to now. You're fighting quite actively every year. You know what I'm saying? Like last year you had 2 fights, and 2011 you had another 2 fights. 2010 you had 4 fights. So you're quite active. So it's not like you know what I mean? It's not like say you took too long off. So you're obviously in decent in adequate shape. But like, what's your goals in the light heavyweight division? What do you want to be? You want to be another champ? Obviously, you've become a champion there already. So who's your eyes set on which guys would you like to fight? Hopkins, isn't it? Hopkins probably, yeah. Hopkins would be good.
I mean, I would love to fight. Hopkins is also fighting crowd with somebody that I would love to get a big match with, but he'll keep ducking me as well. So. We'll see what happens. I'm just working on me. I know I lost a few steps. I'm trying to sharpen up those steps as much as I can. Being older is not as easy as it once was, so we'll see.
Yeah. European, have you got a question for Glen Johnson?
Yeah. Hi, Glenn. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Excellent.
I was just wondering, you've only ever been stopped once in your career. Just how good was Bernard Hopkins as a fighter? Can you explain to us just how good he was?
Bernard Hopkins is clever. He's not just the boxing skills that he possesses. He's also very smart. He knows boxing and exactly what to do to take away your strength. So he's a very clever guy. Now that he's older, he's more tricky. He's more defensive than anything. Now that he's not able to do the things that he used to do when he was younger. So, again, because Bernard Hopkins out in the fight, we don't expect him to perform the way he used to, obviously. None of us can perform whatever we once were, but I still think he's going to be a handful.
Definitely. Okay. Oh, yeah, man. Well, it seems like, at least like the Road Warrior is still around. So, Glenn, who was your idol looking up? Was it Marvin Hagler? You used to. I heard an interview before that you used to look up to people like Marvin Hagler. Is that right?
Yeah. Marvin Hagler was my guy. Out of all the Sugar Ray and the Thomas Hearns and all of them, Marvin Hagler, just like what he represents. He represents fighting. He was not about trying to be fancy or any of that stuff. He get in there and get into that business.
Definitely. Are you looking to have any fights in Jamaica at all? Are you looking to have any fights in Jamaica?
No, I've never fought in Jamaica. Amateur pro.
Yeah, like it'll be interesting, have one of them fights in Jamaica, and that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I would love to get that done before I retire. If it's possible, but at the end of the day, if it don't happen, it don't happen.
Yeah, definitely. So when you was growing up in Jamaica, did you have a lot of fights on the street? Because obviously you seemed like you knew how to fight already. Like, you see, amateur, like you said, you didn't have that in fight. What kind of person was you when you were younger? You get into fights a lot of time, or were you a quiet guy and
I have a few fights in school as a boy growing up. And stuff. I have a few fights with some of my friends as well. So, I think all young guys, you go through that as you're growing up as kids. Especially, I have a lot of friends, so we bump heads here and there. But the good thing is we fought and then we're friends about an hour, 2 hours later.
Yeah, definitely. So the phone calls that rang you you don't know which fight's on the card for you this year. Obviously, we're in February now, so you might have a fight somewhere, like you're looking to have a fight, September maybe, or probably earlier than that?
We'll see. I mean, you know, I still want to work on a few kinks. I'm working on some stuff now. So, you know, I was in another 3 months from now or something like that before I get in the ring.
Okay. So what other stuff have you got lined up after boxing? Because obviously you're on the verge of, like, you know, probably like 2 more fights or whatever. What other things are you gonna do when boxing's not in your life no more, or in terms of you not fighting?
Well, I'm already training people now. I train boxers and also I train just people who want to get in shape and stuff now. So, you know, those are the things that I'm doing. I'm also actively looking into the real estate business as well. That's what I was doing before, and the market crashed, so I'm looking into that again because it's starting to pick up again.
Okay. I'm gonna ask a question though. See for the George Groves fight, did they pay you a lot of money to come over for that fight? Because I'm not obviously, I don't want to get into your personal business because it's your money and that, but that fight, because he's like,
it was a big money. It was okay money. I mean, you know, you coming off 2 losses, you'll get you decent money for coming off actually 3 losses. So, you know, it was pretty good money for coming off 3 losses.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah, I know he was gonna try and knock you out. You see, because but you done a good job. He did, like they say, you knocked down. What did you say? You tripped in it over his foot, right?
Yeah. Over his foot. I don't know if the referee, he started to count and then he said, yeah, I know you tripped. So I don't know if they counted or not. I really haven't seen the fight since I fought in it. I haven't seen it, so I don't know exactly how they officially ruled it. But he started to count and then he said, yeah, I know you tripped, and then he kind of waved it off. He didn't even finish the 8 counts. I don't know if that's went on the records or not done or not.
Yeah, unfortunately it did. How do you rate George Groves as a fighter? Would you think he's I know you don't really say anything bad about fighters, because obviously you're a gentleman of boxing, but how would you say his potential? Do you think he'll be a world champion or someone?
I mean, if you fought the right guy, I think he could be a world champion. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about who you challenge for the title, and if your skill is better than that guy. I mean, but if I look at the landscape and he's going to fight against the best fighters that's in the weight class, which would be
Andre Ward.
I don't think he could beat Ward. So, you know, I mean, I don't even think he could be called Froch. So, I mean, you know, but I guess if he fought the right guy, somebody that is better than, I think he could be a world champion. But I don't think he could be a world champion against either one of those 2 guys.
Unfortunately, we couldn't maintain the reception with Glenn. So at this point, we had to abort the interview, but it was a privilege to even have the man's time for as long as we did. You know what I mean? Peace out.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Yeah, you ready to get recorded now, yeah, for the interview?
Yes, man. Come on, man. Stop playing, man. I'm ready. I'm ready to fight.
Anything you want to tell the public out there?
I am the greatest! Right, left, you're toothless, and then you say, God damn it! You got knocked the fuck out, man! Get knocked out, damn. Word is born, I'ma smoke them, yo, don't make no move. What? Treat it like boxing, stick and move, nigga. Left, right. And he was out for the night.
You know we need that trademark bark before you depart from our company, man. You know what I mean? Can we get the bark again? We're gonna need that bark. You know what I mean?
Oh, man. Jesus for life, fellas. Dog is coming.
I don't care if he knocked me down or it's ready to go with him. Whatever you wanted to do, I'm gonna match him. All the way, mate, all the way. Now you might start believing in the Dark Destroyer.
Watching beats and rhymes.
I got knowledge, another sucker's lacking.
I don't know if you want to answer. Possible Manny Pacquiao fight with Floyd Mayweather. How you feel about that one?
Well, basically, I mean, it's a fight that still has the potential to happen.
I'm Sonny, listen, I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from their cloth. There's no one that can match me.
Watching beats and rhymes, watching beats and rhymes, watching beats and rhymes, watching beats and rhymes.